days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. The 49ers are in full swing getting ready for the Seattle Seahawks. A very pivotal NFC West battle, Alex, and there's a lot of information and news coming out that is going to be big impacts in what happens, and also a little small glimpse into what the 49ers are facing because of some of the things that Jimmy Garoppolo had to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a big episode. This is chock filled of information and insight, both from Kyle, both from Jimmy, and just what's going on with this team. So make sure you hit that like button right now. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Become the newest member of the Cutback crew as we push the 2K before the bye week. That's what the goal. That's what we're aiming for. Help us get there. We really appreciate it. And Ant, let's dive into this because we got some things we got to discuss. Let's start with the update on George Kittle. So George Kittle is dealing with some calf soreness. Kyle talked about how it's not uncommon for Kittle. He deals with stuff like this a lot, little bang-ups, little nicks and things like that because of the physical level in which he plays the football game. They think he's going to be all right for this week. They're just kind of taking it day by day right now. So that's the good news. He didn't practice today, but, Armstead also hasn't practiced the last few weeks, the first couple days of practice, and then got limited time in before he was ready to go and has played phenomenal. He's looked good. He even looked good in week 3. So I'm not too worried about this right now.
I am not worried because he's day-to-day. If they were saying anything else other than that, and then, of course, we're going to wait for the actual injury report. If he's questionable, he'll probably play. If he's doubtful, he probably won't. I mean, that has kind of been what the 49ers have been trending towards. Unfortunately, the way Kyle acted, though, is they expected this to already be calmed down, that the soreness would be kind of gone, but it's still there. But I think that if they have to sit George Kittle all week at practice and then play him in the game, they will. I don't think this is something that's, too crazy. When you have veterans like this, they understand what they're supposed to do. They know where they're supposed to be, and they're going to be paying attention in the film room. It's not like George Kittle's not going to be there learning and still getting done what he needs to get done and helping his football team. So, I mean, is it optimal? No. But once again, it's manageable. This isn't a serious injury. We're talking about something serious where Kittle was going to be out, for a significant amount of time. I would get worried because he's been very pivotal to this offense so far through 3 games. And it was on display against Green Bay. I mean, having 92 yards receiving, we needed every single one of those to be in that football game. And he's provided a spark every single time, just like he always does, whether that's blocking or catching the football. So he is much needed, but there's no reason to panic right now. 85 is going to be on the field. And one thing I will say, because I got hit up a few times about this already, is everyone in the NFL right now is playing hurt. Every single one of them. Because people say, oh, I don't want, our guys out there playing hurt, they're going to push through and try to get hurt. Are they going to get hurt worse? Every single person is hurt because football players play hurt. The only time you're 100% healthy is when you first go out there the very first time. And then after that, everyone's playing with a little nick. Something is not feeling well. That is the life of a football player. And anyone that's played football in their life knows this to be true. I barely played any games ever feeling 100%. And I'm sure you didn't either, Alex. So don't worry. These guys are used to this. They're going to push through and they're going to be fine. If injuries happen, they happen. That's the way the game goes and the way the game is played. But I'm not going to be worried about George Kittle because if you just worry, you just live in a constant state of fear the whole time. I mean, let's get over this. Let's get out there and play with no fear and get behind George Kittle, and he's going to get through this calf, and he's going to have another big game.
Agreed. And yes, never. Literally. My junior year was plantar fasciitis the whole season, and my senior campaign was technically it was bruised ribs and a bruised lung, a lung contusion. I'm like Josh Norman out there. Yeah. It wasn't as serious as Josh Norman, and wasn't coughing up blood, so that's good. But I was black and blue literally the entire right side of my body for the entirety of my senior year campaign. That happens. It's football. If
you don't go to school and the teachers don't think you've been beaten up at home, you haven't been playing football right.
Correct. No. I had weightlifting senior year, so I changing in the locker room, whatever. And my teacher walked by and was like, "Dude, what is wrong with you?" So I took a shot, got a hitch over the middle, trying to turn up field, right in the gut, wrist right here on the side. It's fine. He's like, "It looks awful," and I was like, "Yeah, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. It just looks nasty and it's uncomfortable when you put pads on." But that's the NFL. That's football. That's almost every level of football, except the younger kids. Usually younger kids, you don't hit hard enough for
small bruises,
little dinks, so like little nicks and things like that. Yeah. But this is the NFL. These are big boys. They're grown men. They hit hard. They play hard. Guys don't come out of games unscathed. And if you have a team that's coming out of a game unscathed, I question how hard you were actually playing. And the scoreboard usually would show something like that if you walk out of a game perfectly healthy. Unless the football gods just have bestowed greatness upon your organization for an entire year and you're just gifted, right? You're gifted a championship because you're the only team that stays 100% healthy. That just doesn't happen. That's not the thing that happens in football. So Kittle, not too worried about. Norman, limited in practice, and by limited we meaning not really suited up, just out running sprints and things of that nature. Kyle talked about how Norman has some tests and things to pass. I imagine one of those tests, Ant, is being able to run full speed and then be able to recover and breathe properly without feeling like, his lungs are filling up with fluid or things of that nature.
I think his is more dire than George Kittle, only because he came out of the game and wasn't able to go back in. You spend a night in the hospital. Yeah, I'm going to take it a little bit more serious. The one thing I will say, though, is this guy is an absolute beast. Mm-hmm. The fact that he did this and then stayed in the football game for a while and pushed through and played very, very good. I mean, very, very good.
It was up until his last play on the field where you could tell, he knew just the way he plays it. He stays outside. The guy makes an inside move. He tries to move with him a little bit and kind of puts the arm out in space and his body turns a little bit and he looks extremely uncomfortable. And then he's no longer on the field after that. That was the hit that happened on was 5-6 minutes earlier.
Yeah, a couple series.
Yeah.
And he gets hit making a play on the football and knocking it out of Aaron Jones's arms, which is a great move. Too bad the 49ers couldn't get the football, bounce out of bounds. Unfortunate. But yeah, Norman is a stud. And if Norman can be out there, he's going to be out there 100%. He's another one of those veterans that's going to push through situations. He's a tough individual and has a lot of pain tolerance. I mean, that really showed it. We could really use Josh Norman out there as well. So I'm hoping that everything goes well, that he's trending in the right direction, and that he ends up getting cleared and passes his test. The good news is he's running, because anytime it's a lung thing, you got to have lung capacity to be able to run. If he's doing that, that's a good sign. So let's get this guy back on the field where he can make an impact. But if he's not healthy, let's keep him out, make sure that we have him for future weeks, because I like what he was doing on the field. As much as I would like to have him against Seattle, the main thing is you need to make sure you win at least one of these next two games. So you got to beat them or Arizona. You're definitely going to need them for one of them, hopefully both.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to have him for both. I'd love to get him for just one. Josh Norman can be a huge help to this team. And we talked about these last three games, Ant, and you said it. Two of these last three heading into the bye. We get two of these last three. We're in primo position heading into Indianapolis with the Colts after that bye week. Starts now. You got to get these next two. These next two are big, too. They're conference opponents. This is an opportunity to set the bar high and set yourself apart in this conference, in this division. You have a Seahawks team who's hungry, and you have a Cardinals team who is, riding high. They're riding real high right now. We'll see how high they're
living on a prayer.
That's also true. We'll see what happens this week against the Rams for them, and let's see if they come back down to earth a little bit. But look, the Josh Norman situation, it'd be great if we have him, but there's other player things that we got to talk about. There's other player status updates that we got to get to, because there's a host of guys for the 49ers, a host of guys who are dealing with a little bit of stuff. DNPs today in practice were Bosa. It's not injury related. They're just giving him a maintenance, a little rest day. Kinlaw, who's dealing with the knee stuff, but this has been the trend for Kinlaw the last couple weeks. He hasn't practiced the first few days of practice, so not worried just yet. Kittle, obviously, Norman, obviously, and K'Wan Williams, obviously, also not moved to IR right now. I think the idea here and the rumor is that they're going to eventually move K'Wan to IR because of how long it's going to be. What, 3 to 6 weeks?
Yeah, we've been hearing rumblings that it's going to be 3 to 6 weeks. It's a high ankle sprain, so it's usually around 4 to 6 weeks. So we'll see what happens with it. But they haven't yet made that roster move. So, I mean, they still have 2 roster spots available. They only have 51 active players. Let's see if they end up moving K'Wan Williams or if they think he can come back earlier. My guess is he eventually goes to the IR when they activate some of these other guys.
Yep, I think that would be the safe bet. But we'll see how he progresses. This week will be the good nod for that, because with Elijah Mitchell being limited as well, shoulder stuff, he did do a limited practice session day, which is good. He had a full participant in practice, which is Eric Armstead, which is shocking because he's had the last couple of days where he's, first few days of practice, the last few weeks, he's taken those days off leading into the game. So he must be feeling a lot better. But we got 3 guys that are going to be coming back from IR this week, or 3 guys that could come back from IR. And you had Maurice Hurst, right? You had Devontae Harris, and you had Jalen Hurd. But they're not opening the practice window for Jalen Hurd, Ant. Shocking, surprising, concerning.
You know what? Actually, I didn't expect Jalen Hurd to come back until next week. I kind of thought that would have made the most sense coming back against Arizona, kind of when they put him on IR. But you think they would open the practice window so he could practice, but maybe that's not what they're going to do. But yeah, coming back against Arizona and then having a bye week where he can have another week off and then come back, it seems like that would be something they can do. But of course, they could also just look at it and be like, we want to shut this guy down and make sure he's healthy when he does come back and not activate him until after the bye week. So we'll see. So yeah, it was a little interesting that they're not opening the practice window for him. Good news that they're opening the window for Harris and for
Hurst.
For Hurst, thank you. Yeah, both those guys can make an impact on this football team, and we have room for them. I mean, we do have 2 open roster spots, so that could also play into it. Maybe they don't want to make a roster move, with Jalen Hurd. That's why you don't want to bring him back right now. Or the other 2 guys you can put in right now, and you're 53 strong, and you don't have to worry about losing someone from your football team because you do have a state of flux still in the secondary. Your linebacker room's a little interesting. So there are some decisions that still need to be made there, but we'll see what they do. I mean, I think they still have an opportunity to make some fluctuating moves. And I don't know what Kyle Shanahan's thinking overall, what they're going to do with Jalen Hurd. He says his knee's not healthy. I wonder how much of that is accurate and how much is they're just not ready to force their hand as far as making a roster move.
I think that's safe. I think that's actually a safe bet. People who are like, oh, Hurd just always hurt, still hurt, stays hurt. Maybe that's the case. Or maybe the 49ers are looking at this right now. We're going to get 2 key defensive guys back. Hurst especially is a guy who's going to be able to play big role in the rotation with the D-line. So getting him back, okay, well, here's the good news, right? You get him back. That's another guy in the rotation that can go. DJ Jones gets a little bit more of a break at times. Kinlaw can get a little bit more of a break sometimes. You don't have to roll Kentavious Street out there as often because Street has had moments where he's looked really good.
He has.
And then he has moments where he doesn't look really good. It's just not there all the time. So having those plays right now where he's on the field and not maybe having success, you can get a guy like Hurst out there and maybe have some success.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's a different type of player from those other guys. He's extremely athletic. He does a lot of things with quickness. So he's going to be able to help a lot in the pass rush area. So now they could actually pull Kinlaw off the field on some pass rush downs and go with Maurice Hurst at times, and that'll give him a distinct advantage. And the thing is, those guys are healthy and ready to come back right now, so they can come in and help your football team. And remember, once you open the window on these guys, there's only a certain amount of time they can be in that practice window before they need to be activated or put on IR for the rest of the season. So delaying it, waiting a little bit, I think is fine for Jalen Hurd.
Making sure he's actually 100% good.
Correct. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Maurice Hurst can do on this football team and what they end up doing with Harris, because we're going to have someone have a logjam, I think, in the secondary. We've already seen what they've done with Ambry Thomas, where he's kind of being put on the back burner. We know that they got to keep him on the roster and they can't afford to lose him. But what are they going to do with all these DBs? And they're going to have to make some decisions. Not right now, of course, because they're where they're rolling. They have roster spots. But it's definitely interesting, but it's nice to have Maurice Hurst back. He's going to make a big impact on his football team. From everything we saw with his lateral movement, he was causing major problems for 49ers offensive linemen in camp, and he looked good in some of the preseason games as well. So he's going to go out there and he's going to make an impact, and it's going to be nice having another fresh guy coming off, on the inside, because there was a noticeable difference in pass rush downs when you didn't have Kevin Givens. Givens was giving you that added pass rush, and with him out, you were missing that. So now you add this guy back in, and now your defense is more where it should have been as far as strength-wise and overall rotation.
Absolutely. Look, the Niners, yes, they're dealing with some injuries and guys being limited or, DNPing, but so are the Seahawks. Seahawks also have guys. You have Dwayne Brown taking a rest day. Eskridge is still in concussion protocol. Kerry Hyder is in concussion protocol. Gabe Jackson, just a rest day. Rashad Penny dealing with a calf. And Brandon Michelle, dealing with an ankle. And Tyler Lockett, limited, but surprisingly listed as a hip. That injury has now changed 3 times. It was a knee, then it was an ankle, now it's a hip. So he's had 3 different injury designations in 3 days. It's changed each day. So whether or not there's more to it than that, or whether or not it's a lower extremity injury, and as something is healing up and as the recovery is getting better, another area hurts because he's been compensating in one area of his body, whether it's the way he walks, whether it's running when he's running sprints or things of that nature. Who knows just yet, but he is limited still in practice.
You're going to have to prepare for him because he can go out there and he can make plays. So you're going to have to prepare for him and DK. And you're going to have to make sure your game plan is sound and ready to go because you got to limit these guys as much as possible. You're not going to be able to stop them, but you're going to have to try to limit them and limit opportunities for them to make big, explosive plays down the field, which both of them do very well. And the 49ers have the ability to do it. They have the right kind of defensive line, and they have the right kind of secondary. The way DeMeco Ryans has been scheming it up, if you watch our All-22 film, you know that DeMeco Ryans did a bang-up job scheming it up, and it really had a lot to do with execution and not the way that he handled the scheme. Even when backup players came in, they were still able to execute at a high level. So, yeah, I think this is kind of the wear and tear that all teams suffer, and you're seeing it from Seattle, whether they're given maintenance days or they have the guys hurt. It's unfortunate about Kerry Hyder. I like Kerry Hyder. The fact he's in concussion protocol, I hope he gets out of there quick because I don't want to see anyone injured. But Eskridge has been in it for a long time, so that is very concerning for him. Hopefully, at some point, it gets better, but that's a scary thing. Anytime it has something to do with the brain and the mind, it's very scary, and I hope they take their time with it. Don't put him in after 2 plays out. You go ahead and you wait weeks. It's a different mindset apparently, but I'm glad they're taking their time with him.
Hey, I hope he's all right. I hope he's okay. But yeah, he's been in it for some time. And that's always concerning. Always concerning because concussions affect people differently, and sometimes one concussion can be a lot. It can ruin a guy's career. It can ruin their ability to just mentally be where they need to be, and feeling like they can protect themselves. If they don't feel like they can protect themselves, it's going to affect play and how you operate in space. So definitely something to keep an eye on and watch. But that's not the only thing to be keep an eye on and watching it, because Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan had some very interesting comments the last few days. Jimmy, especially, with some spicy comments and some interesting stuff, basically about how they're seeing things that they're not prepared for. The 49ers offense are coming out and prepping for A and seeing Z, not B or C or D, Z, things they've never seen before.
Yeah, I thought that was very revealing. I mean, it makes a lot of sense when you look at the All-22 film. Philadelphia came out and ran a 5-man front, which has kind of been the norm. That has been since New England ran that against the Rams in the Super Bowl. That has been the norm to help stop the outside zone. That is not the surprising part. The surprising part was Green Bay came out and put a 6th guy on the line of scrimmage and really packed it all in and brought their safeties up to within 10 yards.
They were running at times what looked like 9 to 11 in the box.
Yeah, and it was like a 6-1 alignment. And that is confusing. And when you bring those safeties up that tight, there's no respect for that deep pass. The problem is Jimmy Garoppolo is right when he said he can only execute the plays that are being called. And unfortunately, what's happened is Kyle Shanahan has been a little thrown off by what people are giving to him. So these other teams are getting somewhat, and you saw it more from Green Bay than you saw from Philly.
Yes.
Because Philly just had very good inside defensive players that, caused little problems for the 49ers. Where Green Bay, it was complete scheme. It's almost like Barry had a guy on the inside kind of thing. And we kind of have a hunch about that. We think that now that Mike LaFleur, is out of the 49ers building, that he helped his brother come up with a game plan, both offensively and defensively, to help go against the 49ers. This is something that definitely happens. Before LaFleur was in the building, so it was protected, but now he knows how Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel wanting to execute LaFleur all these years, how they attack those style of defenses. And so now they've made some adjustments. The cool part of it, though, Alex, is that during this football game, Kyle Shanahan adjusted as well. So you can get it over on him for a half. You can't get it over on him for a full game, and he proved that in this game. It's part of the reason he's completely pissed off, because he knows that they were better and should have won this football game, but Green Bay was able to hold them off because they got just enough done in the first half to be able to win. So now he's got to figure out what these teams are going to be doing. And then it's a copycat league. So how many teams are going to try to do this? And what is Kyle Shanahan going to do to take advantage of this new muck-it-up style of defense that people are bringing towards him?
Correct. And people that are talking about Jimmy don't take deep shots, Jimmy doesn't do this, Jimmy doesn't do that. I'm telling you, come over and come to Patreon. Come watch the All-22 film breakdown. I'm not joking. There's nothing. There is nothing there. The deep shots in the first half are not dialed up. They dial up maybe two. One of them, Jair Alexander, makes an incredible play to cut off George Kittle from the other side of the field.
Yeah.
And the rest of them, they're ready for it. Every single time. There are not a lot of open, deep opportunities. There's a few. And the times that they're there, Jimmy maybe is looking to take a shot but doesn't have the time, or the Packers are all over it. They did a great job defensively of coming up with a game plan, taking certain things away. And despite that, we still scored 3 tutties in the second half. You put up 21 points in the second half after giving them and spotting them a 17-0 lead. You did enough. You did enough in the second half to win the football game. It's just unfortunate that the end of the game happens the way that it does. And Fred Warner had some comments about this as well. He talked about this as well.
Yeah.
DeMeco Ryans called a 99.9% perfect game. A 99.9, including the first big play to Devontae Adams with 37 seconds left, in which Samson Ebukam gets absolutely mauled into oblivion with 2 referees staring at him.
Oh, yeah.
and a cover 4 shell over the top, running quarters with an inside breaking route in which Fred Warner is there. He knows that Davante Adams is coming across. He's moving in space, but him and Al-Shaair start literally 5 yards from the line of scrimmage. Rather than knowing, hey, they got to make up a lot of ground here in a very short amount of time. We're running cover 4. They got to push the ball deep. Let's keep everything in front of us. Let's start at 10. Let's move ourselves back, make everything play in front of us. And if nothing plays in front of us, Rodgers has nothing, and we're going to get a sack and bring them down here in space. They get a little too antsy. They're a little too far up on the start. Yeah. And Warner even talks about that in his comments. He said, looking back on it, thinking back on it, I knew what they were going to do. We knew where they were going to be. And I just started a little too. If I start 5 yards deeper, then I'm sitting right there where Davante Adams coming across in space, and Aaron Rodgers isn't throwing it. And if he's throwing it, I'm picking it. He knows. The defense knew. D'Amico Ryans knew. They called the right scheme and the right play and just didn't execute. And it is the common theme throughout the entire All-22 film when you're watching it. Guys are in the right spots. Guys are where they're supposed to be. They're just a split second too late to react. Or you got a guy being held on a pass rush. Or you just have an unfortunate situation where a guy breaks contain and someone doesn't react quick enough and the Packers are able to make a play.
Yeah, execution was a big part of it. Unfortunately, the 49ers didn't execute whenever they had to. They made plays at times and they looked good, but it wasn't a scheme issue. It definitely wasn't. D'Amico Ryans dialed up what he was supposed to dial up, but I think this could be a little bit of an overreaction from what happened against Detroit. Against Detroit, you played soft, everything was able to be caught, and now you get out in the situation as a player, you're like, wait, I got to play it more aggressive because last time this happened, unfortunately, it was a different situation because Detroit's trying to score touchdowns, and Green Bay is trying to score a field goal. And really, you're right, they could have sagged back, they could have waited. And we're talking it's a matter of inches. I mean, this is probably 4 to 6 inches. The ball goes over Fred Warner's hand.
There are 3 plays in this game.
Yeah.
Cutback crew and faithful. I'm not joking. And the people on Patreon know because it's going up. They've seen part 1, so they've seen some of this already. There are 3 plays in this game that are literally a matter of inches that change the entire game. The Fred Warner almost pick. The field goal before the Niners go on the drive to score to go up,
correct,
in which Talanoa Hufanga is less than a foot away from blocking a kick. And it actually sets up Dante Johnson coming off the end for the final field goal, in which Dante Johnson misses the ball by a literal inch. I'm talking ball is just over the top of his hand as he's coming around to space. This close. Despite everything that happened, the 49ers had 3 plays that were this close to being an entirely different ballgame.
Yeah, and if you jump over to Patreon, you can also find out why Davante Adams is open on the last play. Because we lay it out there pretty good.
It's the one I feel we both agreed. It's the one mistake D'Amico Ryans made all game long in coverage and just calling and scheming.
Yep, it is the one mistake, and it's a personnel mistake. And if you hop over there, you can check it out. But
don't miss it.
Yeah, I think that Fred Warner's thoughts on this is revealing. And this is kind of one of those things he's going to take charge, like we've talked about earlier this week. He's going to put it on himself, and by doing that, he's being transparent with his teammates. His teammates will look in the mirror and tell the truth as well about the mistakes that they made and the plays that they left on the field. But I thought, going back to what Jimmy said, the things that Jimmy said are very enlightening because they're getting different looks than they've ever seen. So what people are trying to do is they've completely tried to figure out what Kyle Shanahan's system is looking like and what they can do to disrupt it. And they think they have a blueprint for it now. But during this game, Kyle completely changes and flips the script, where he goes from having multiple 2 tight end sets to going a lot of 3 receiver sets. Not only does he do that, but then he brings in the bunch later on. And it completely changes the way that they're able to play him. So I think you're going to see a lot of things where he's going to have to adjust on the fly. We wonder how many of the scripted plays are going to be ran at the beginning now. I wonder if the script gets smaller. But some of it, too, is the personnel that you're going against. You have to have the right personnel. And unfortunately, this was a matchup where if Kyle could have figured it out just a tad bit sooner, they probably could have scored more points in this game. But I thought it was kind of interesting that Jimmy put it out there like, hey, look, I only throw the passes that I'm told to throw. I only take advantage of the opportunities that I'm allowed to have. And he's right. There's not a lot of opportunities to go down the field or outside the numbers that are open. There's not a lot of open receivers right now.
We're not winning deep. We are winning short. We are winning at times intermediate, especially when we're forcing them to spread out and space out a little bit. And when we go to those bunch sets, it really, compacts their guys in terms of coverage and where they can cover in space. And so there's a lot of guys and there's a lot of movement and crossing up that frees up and opens up avenues to attack, especially when they go zone. But it's middle of the field and short is where guys are winning in space. It's not deep. We're not winning deep. I can literally on one hand count the amount of times that we won deep, and there were probably about 8 or 9 opportunities. And it's on one hand, it might actually only be on 4 fingers, and I might only need 3 of the 4 fingers in which they actually won. So when
they win, it's not by much. It's not like they're wide open.
No, they're not destroying deep right now. They're not.
No,
they're not. And it's this muck it up style. And Tyler Menting talked a little bit about it. They're going to muck up the middle of the field. They really, really tried. They did everything they possibly could. Those safeties were flying down on dig routes and cross routes over the middle of the field. They did not want the 49ers operating there at all. And look, I get it. 49ers fans, well, Jimmy mistakes and Jimmy this and Jimmy that. Jimmy made some incredible throws in this football game. If you watch the film back, you can't sit there and not see the good stuff that Jimmy does. Yes, there's bad, including the backwards pass, right? The backwards pass ends up being a fumble. It's a screen. It's a screen that is poorly executed and completely blown up by the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, they played it well.
It's just an unfortunate situation. Yeah. It's literally a situation where the Green Bay Packers force a turnover. They just force a turnover. They read it, they diagnose it. They know it's coming. They know it's coming. They blow it up into smithereens. Trent Williams and George Kittle absolutely get blown back. They're supposed to be letting a guy through, and they get destroyed. And Trey Sermon's sitting there trying to find the open space to sit in, and he can't find it because there's not one. And Jimmy Garoppolo's going, oh my God, oh no, what am I supposed to do? And there's someone in his face immediately. I think it's Gary that comes flying in. He flies in hard, almost as if he knew it was coming, off the play action look.
Yeah, and that's why Jimmy kind of double clutches, because Gary's right there. And if he throws it, he wants to throw it at Trey Sermon's feet and just get out of the play.
But he's right in front of his face.
right in his face, so he kind of double clutches and throws it backwards. I mean, it's an ugly play. Jimmy Garoppolo makes a mistake. And unfortunately, it was blown up. They weren't going to get anything out of that play. It's not like there was anything successful down the field that Jimmy missed. It is literally a screen or bust, and the screen's not there either.
And it's bust.
So it just didn't work as the play call coupled with a great defensive play by Green Bay Packers. But it's like I said, I'm gonna keep saying this: is Jimmy does some elite things, and then Jimmy makes some really bad mistakes. And right now, that's what makes him a middle of the road quarterback. What we have to do is keep enhancing and taking advantage of the elite things that he does, and try to limit the times when he makes those mistakes. And if that happens, we're going to win more football games than we lose, because Jimmy can do that. But Kyle Shanahan is going to have to expand this offense and change this offense a little bit because of how people are attacking him. I fully expect him to adjust. He'll figure it out. Because
figured it out in the second half.
Oh, he definitely did. And the thing is once somebody shows their cards, you can go ahead and adjust the next time, and those cards don't work again. So you might get me once, but I'm going to get you in return. And I think if the 49ers see Green Bay again, it'll be a different story. I think Green Bay knows they escaped with a football game. This is very reminiscent, like I said, of the Seahawks in 2019 when the Seahawks came to Santa Clara. That's how this game feels. Better savor the flavor, because it sure as heck ain't going to happen again. So the 49ers are going to execute, and I think we got a pissed off Kyle Shanahan, and his comments all over this week have really illustrated how upset he is, how irritated he is. And I guarantee you, he's ready to, if he could right now, he would rip a door down and go out there and rip someone's head off.
He would. He definitely would.
Yeah.
Look, and it's because people want to put blame on Jimmy for what's going on. And so there's all this talk of quarterback controversy, but there isn't one.
Wait, quarterback controversy? In Santa Clara? No way.
No way. Well, people really want there to be a quarterback controversy. Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't feel there's a quarterback controversy. No. Trey Lance doesn't feel there's a quarterback controversy.
I think he would like there to be.
I mean, who wouldn't, right? You want to be on the football field, right? But I think they've made it very clear to Trey Lance what his role is. And Kyle Shanahan basically stated as much today and yesterday. Trey's our backup quarterback. This isn't the preseason. We're not just going to go back and forth all the time. I mean, Trey goes in for specific plays or things we want to do. Trey, week in, week out, he gets better each week. The more reps he gets on scout team and stuff like that. But there's no big decision going into that each week. Luke Luna has been saying this for a while in the chat. He's been talking about how he thinks Trey is just going to get sprinkled in, right? We thought that maybe there was going to be a little bit more usage and maybe more opportunities for Trey to get on the field. Kyle doesn't feel that way. Kyle feels like Jimmy gives us the best chance to win football games right now. He's not wrong. That drive at the end of the game was absolutely fantastic. The throw at the end was great. Everything they did, the level of execution was phenomenal. He runs clear outs on the backside with, I believe it's Ayuk and with Deebo Samuel. He has Sanu running a little whip route in space to hold the other linebacker, and he isolates Juszczyk one-on-one with the linebacker over the middle of the field. They've cleared out and opened up the middle. Juszczyk gets in, operates, breaks a tackle. You do the things you're supposed to do. He also went on to say, we put in a game plan for our starting quarterback. The backup needs to be able to do all of that if the starter gets hurt. That's what's cool about Trey, because of his different skill sets. We always keep him alive with a couple of plays on situations. But the idea is that he's behind Jimmy. The only way Trey's truly going to fully get in this season is if something happens to Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, or Jimmy starts playing bad.
That also.
I mean, but right now Jimmy hasn't played bad enough for Trey Lance to go in. I hear the people clamoring for Trey Lance to go in. But really they haven't used Trey Lance in a way that makes me think that Trey Lance is ready to go in either. What about that? Those 2 plays that he had in this game makes anyone think he's ready to go, or 3 plays that makes you think that he's going to be able to go in and operate this offense at a high level. I don't know, because
quarterback sweep, fullback sneak, play action boot,
and he didn't look bad on any of them. Let's just say that. But we don't get to see him in practice right now, so we don't know what the development is. But from what I saw in training camp to now, the one thing we know is he operates very well in the red zone. So where is Kyle Shanahan using him? In the red zone. So he's taking advantage of his strengths and getting him used to the game while working him in. I think this is an excellent game plan. I mean, I think initially this is kind of what we thought was going to happen. And then when Kyle Shanahan started throwing around the Shanahan plan stuff and really putting him out there in that game, I'll 100% agree. I kind of got into it. I'm like, okay, here we go.
Well, I liked it because you're utilizing the max potential of both guys. It's like, okay, well, it's never been done before, right? It's risky, but hey, it's looking all right now. Maybe these guys can get it done. But that's not the case, right?
No.
Kyle's basically saying that's not what is going to be happening right now, anyway.
He's definitely scaled it back a little bit from what he wants, from what he was expected to do. I don't know what Kyle Shanahan was ever going to do. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know what he thinks or what he wants to do.
No,
that would be foolish of me. The one thing I will say though is whatever he decides, I'm rolling with it, because the thing is about this team is they've had 2 games now where there's been a lot of complaints about the offense. As far as I'm talking 2 games where we scored nearly 30 points and there was complaints. One well over, we scored in the 40s. The other one we scored 28 points and there's complaints about the offense. When is 28 points not enough to win a football game? And I think there's an extra kind of layer of this because everyone wants to see Trey Lance in, which I understand. He's an exciting player.
If you're scoring 28 with Jimmy, Ant, you're going to score 50 with Trey.
That's just nonsense. But if you're scoring 28 with Jimmy Garoppolo, you are winning football games, or you should be. Because guess what the average score was for the 49ers in 2019? 28 points.
Oh, man.
So right now the 49ers are pretty close to that number. I know they had 17 against Philly. You have over 40 against Detroit, and then 28 against Green Bay. That's a nice average of points. I don't think that the 49ers offense is the issue. And I don't think ultimately the defense is the issue all the time. I think what it is right now is personnel. They have personnel guys, when they lose certain players now because they're thin, because they've lost other guys, that it puts an extra strain on this football team. The other thing you got to take into account is just Aaron freaking Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams are those guys. I mean, they're literally that good.
Pretty talented.
Yeah, they show up to town and they can make plays. So let's see what happens when you go against another team. Now, Russell Wilson, he's really good. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are very good. So you're going to have to adjust, but I'm definitely not going up or down too much on this over one football game. Let the coaches prove what they can do. Let these players bounce back, and we'll have a bigger conversation after Seattle, and even a bigger one after Arizona.
Yeah, that's all you can do. That's what you need to be doing. And Kyle's sick of it. I mean, he really is. You can see his face in the presser today. He's tired of hearing about it. He doesn't want to talk about it anymore because for him, this is what it is. He said, "Look, I think I was asked coming off the field of the 3rd preseason game if this is something we'd see in the regular season, and I said, and I quote, probably not. I think a lot of words have been put in my mouth, and when some stuff were exaggerated pretty big, I pretty much kept it real with everybody, but I don't just tell everyone the answer." That's what you're supposed to do as a head coach. You don't just tell everyone what you're going to do, because then everyone knows what you're going to do. I mean, that's just common sense, right? It's just common sense. Now, the thing we thought with the Shanahan plan is Kyle's telling everyone that he's going to be utilizing both of these guys, but what he hasn't told you is how, in what packages, in what ways. Are there Trey plays? Are there Jimmy plays? Is the playbook open to everybody? That's what made it hard to predict, and that's why Detroit spent so much time. And Kyle even elaborated on this. I have no problem with you guys overstating that, And Detroit working extremely hard at that. But I've been pretty consistent with what I've said. Jimmy is the starter. Trey is the guy behind him. Think back earlier, at this point, there is no quarterback competition. He's been saying these things from the start till now. Has he sprinkled in other things and stated other things that, about Trey Lance's growth, what Trey's been doing, what Jimmy's been doing, and things of that nature? Yes, all of those things have been stated. But at no point has he ever said, Trey is the guy that's going to be starting this year. Trey is that dude. Jimmy Garoppolo and starter are the only two words that's been used in a sentence in terms of being the starting quarterback for this team. That's what it's going to be right now, Faithful, until something either happens to Jimmy or Jimmy drops off of a cliff. And right now, Jimmy has not dropped off a cliff.
He's very smart. Kyle Shanahan is very smart about the way he chooses his words and the way he approaches things. But 100%, he has been very clear about Jimmy Garoppolo being the starter, and has also been very clear that he wanted everyone to believe that Trey Lance was going to play a lot of football for the 49ers.
I know, I believe it.
And the way that he approached the third preseason game, he 100% wanted Detroit to believe it. He wanted Philadelphia to believe it. He wants these guys to prepare for it. And what he's going to do now is the times that you don't prepare for it, he's going to take advantage of it. There are going to be opportunities for Trey Lance still coming down the road. How much of the game he's going to play, you'll never know. I don't think we're ever going to have a set number, whether that's 2 plays or 6 plays or 8 plays. It's going to all be determined by what he sees and what kind of look he's expecting to get and what he needs from Trey Lance at the moment. But there are going to be opportunities for him to get him out there. But 100%, Kyle Shanahan was 100% whispering out there in a loud whisper. He was like the Yin Yang twins,
Hey, little mama, let me whisper in
you. Yeah, he was definitely saying some stuff because he wanted everyone to believe that. So when fans believed that we were going to get to see more Trey Lance, it's because that's what Kyle Shanahan wanted them to believe. It doesn't mean it was ever accurate, but it means it's what he wanted them to believe because he did want to influence the other defenses to have to prepare for Trey Lance and his skill sets. And so far it's worked because when Trey's come in, he's made plays and scored touchdowns. And though he's played way less football than every other rookie, he's had just as much or more success.
Correct. And, 49ers fans, Ant and I were talking about this pre-show, Cutback crew. Look around the league right now. Look at the rookies. Not all of them are in great situations. They're not. They're just not. Yes, Trey's in a great situation here. But look at the struggles. Look at the things that they're dealing with. Things that they're not having success with. Mac Jones is in a fairly decent situation there in New England. Other than the wide receiver room, it's pretty solid over there. You got a plethora of running backs.
KB.
You got KB.
Making plays.
He did make some plays. It was a nice catch. Great tiptoe. Great finish. I enjoyed that from KB. That was actually really nice. Those are the types of things you have seen KB do stuff like that in San Francisco as well. I can think back to last year, the tiptoe on the sideline, then the dive into the end zone. I forget against who, but it was nice. So KB has his moments. But look, wide receiver room, maybe not the greatest. They got great tight ends. They have a plethora of healthy running backs back there who can do a lot of different things. A healthy O-line, a lot of linebackers. If they go get Jamie Collins, even more linebackers, right? And maybe some questionable young secondary, but it's a pretty solid team there. Even Mac Jones is having some struggles. I don't know why you would want to throw Trey Lance into the fire and kill his confidence when you don't have to. You don't have to. You have a guy right now who operates the system at a high level. They made the adjustments they need to make and scored 3 tutties in the second half of this football game. They put up 28 points. The Niners are averaging 29 points on the season, Faithful. They're scoring 1 more point than they did per game right now from the 2019 season. The only difference is they're not undefeated through 3 games. That's the only difference. Also, defense isn't as healthy as the 2019 season. So those are the differences. Those are the things that have shifted and changed for the 49ers. If you really, truly believe that the 49ers can't overcome this, it's going to be a long season of up and downs for you because the 49ers are going to come out and surprise you, and you're going to be like, oh, I'm back on. You're going to go flying up the right with the rest of the ride. And then the minute they show a little sign of weakness and it starts to go a little bit, you're going to hop off and be like, nope, this team's done. They're tanking. It's over. You can't. Don't do that to yourself. You can do it if you'd like. I'm begging you. Don't do it to yourself. Okay? Come over to Patreon, watch the All-22 film. You will feel better. You truly will because the 49ers had plenty of opportunities, plenty of chances to get this done. DeMeco Ryans schemed a wonderful game with the exception of 1 play at the very end. He does everything he's supposed to do, and Talanoa Hufanga and Dante Johnson on special teams are going to give you the goose pimples because of how close they were to completely changing this thing. I felt it stung, and it stung to watch it again, but I felt so much better after seeing it. Watching Josh Norman operate as almost a leader out there with the secondary was incredible to watch. Watching him call out plays, telling people where to be, giving Demo insight and telling him where he's supposed to be, helping the young man have success out there. This team can get it done. Just stay healthy. Get to the bye week. If we can get these 2 wins this week against Seattle and against Arizona, get to the bye, get Greenlaw back, and this team could do something special.
Yeah, and you're not just getting Greenlaw back. You're getting probably Jeff Wilson back as well. And your team's starting to look a lot better, and you're feeling a lot more comfortable with that running back room because you know Elijah Mitchell should be healthy by then. So there are reinforcements out there that the 49ers have at their disposal. We just got to get there. And right now, that's the whole stretch, though, getting through these NFC West games. Because remember, if the 49ers win this week and the Cardinals lose to the Rams, the 49ers are sitting in second place in the NFC West that quick. There's no tie because there'll be a 1 victory in the NFC West and a loss for Arizona. So that is how quickly things change and turn around. And then you're 1 victory away from beating the Rams eventually. From being ahead in the division. So,
and listen, we're not saying they're going to. We're saying they're 1 game away
I said
from.
If.
Yes, you did say if.
But have no mistake, I fully expect it to happen because Shanahan has been handling McVay over the years.
But Shanahan's been handling LaFleur up until this week.
Yeah, but that's because Michael LaFleur. Never mind. If you watched the earlier part of the episode, you understand.
Michael LaFleur is helping Matt LaFleur against the 49ers. It makes sense.
100%. And you know what McVay doesn't have? LaFleur.
True.
So, but I mean, he does have Stafford, but that's neither here nor there. Anyways,
we'll get to that when we get to the Rams,
but,
right?
Yeah, I mean, right now the key is getting back on track, beating the Seattle Seahawks, and all the focus is going to be on that. And I think this team is going to have a chip on their shoulder. Some teams, when they lose football games, mope, and kind of like, oh man, we should have won this. They beat us last second.
I can't believe this happened.
That's not what happened with these guys. These guys bounced back. They took what they had to take from it. All the criticism and all the bad looks at the plays that they should have made and the execution that they didn't have because really they should have executed a lot better in this game. But the fact that you just almost defeated a team that's been in the NFC Championship 2 years in a row and you didn't play a very good football team, very good football game execution-wise, you had moments where you executed well. I think you could look at that and be like, you know what? We beat ourselves in this one. Next time, we're going to take care of business. And that is something good that the 49ers can take from this. So I'm excited to see what they do, and they need to take care of Seattle, but I think they have the ability to do so.
They definitely do, Ant. Let us know what you think about all of this down below. Are you worried about Kittle? Are you worried about Norman? You've worried about these other players and the status updates? Hurd being, not in the practice window. Is that just pissing you off? You're just ready to get rid of this guy? What did you think about Jimmy's comments? What about Kyle's comments, Warner's comments? We want to hear about it all in our comment section down below. So make sure you're commenting away. And while you're down there, don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And for the 1,000th time this episode, head over to Patreon. You got tons of great stuff over there. You won't regret it.
Yeah, if you're a film person, go to Patreon. That's where you want to be. If you're not, then don't.
Also true.
There's other stuff over there, but I'm just saying if that is something you're really interested in, that's a good reason to go over there. But there's plenty of content right here on YouTube as well. There's going to be content all day. Don't forget to watch the preview show later on that comes out at 2 o'clock. You're not going to want to miss that. And of course, we're going to have Know Your Opponent on Friday. We're going to get to talk to Sam from Always Compete Seahawks podcast, and that's going to be great as well.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get a little more insight with the Seahawks, focus more on the Seahawks, less about the NFC West and matchups and what happened in the Seahawks last week, and more about what this team can bring to the table this week as well. So Know Your Opponent on Friday. That's always a good time. What's Good with Jay and the Bay on Friday? Always a good time.
Excellent.
Daily episodes. Madden Simulation on Fridays, too. That's a lot of fun. We'll see. Madden is officially 3-0, Ant. That's upsetting.
I hate it.
It's really upsetting.
I hate it. I really do. I hate that they got to 3-0 because I wanted them to be 2-1.
I wanted them to be 2-1 too, but Madden did it again, and we'll see what Madden does this week. Oh my goodness!
The fact that they pretty much predicted the Green Bay score as well.
Well, they pretty much predicted Green Bay score, and they predicted the first half struggles for the 49ers. What they didn't count on, Kyle Shanahan adjustments, and they didn't count on that at all whatsoever. So we'll see what happens with the Madden simulation this week. We'll see you on the next one. We'll see you for the preview show here in just a little bit. And until then, faithful Cutback crew, stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.